to take you to the Garden of Eden. That song off of Lady Gaga's new album. New album. Jeez, that album's been out for a while. Anyways, so good. And apropos for today's episode. Anyways, welcome back to another episode of Sex Here and Now. As always, I'm your host, Matt Lockman. I'm a licensed clinical therapist and ASECT certified sex therapist. Today's Matt's Musings is inspired by one of my favorite metaphors from the great Emily Nagoski that I find myself returning to over and over again. Imagine your sexuality is a garden. From the moment you were born, other people started planting things in it. Your family planted ideas. Your religion planted ideas. Your school, friends, and first relationships, television, social media, culture, all of these things, people tossed in seeds into your soil. Some of those seeds grew into beautiful flowers. Others became nasty weeds. The important part is this: you didn't choose what was planted there in the first place. Maybe someone planted the idea that sex is shameful. Maybe you learned that men should always want sex, that women should always be desirable, or that good people don't talk openly about intimacy. Maybe you were taught that your body is something to criticize instead of appreciate. Or perhaps you learned that your desires were strange, selfish, or somehow wrong. Those weren't universal truths. They were simply messages that took root because they were repeated enough times. The beautiful thing about adulthood is that the garden becomes yours. You get to decide what stays. You can pull the weeds of shame. You can stop watering beliefs that no longer serve you. You can plant new ideas rooted in curiosity instead of fear or obligation. You can start learning and focusing on pleasure instead of performance, authenticity instead of expectation. For example, maybe one of the weeds in your garden is the belief that sex is only successful if everyone has an orgasm. That belief can create enormous pressure, anxiety, and disappointment. So, how do you pull that weed? You start by questioning where it came from. Was it something you learned from movies, porn, past partners, culture? Then, once you figure that out, you intentionally replace it with a healthier belief. Maybe the belief is that satisfying sex is about connection and pleasure and not about orgasm. Every time you remind yourself that intimacy is more than a finish line, you're watering a healthier part of your garden. Now, I'll be honest, pulling weeds isn't easy. Some of them have deep roots because they've been there for decades. I know I have some weeds that I've been pulling my entire life. They may have come from painful experiences, unhealthy relationships, or cultural messages you've heard over and over again. But just because something has been growing in your garden for a long time doesn't mean it belongs there forever. I think that's one of the most helpful messages in sex therapy. We don't have to erase our past. We don't have to pretend those weeds never existed. We simply get the opportunity, one choice at a time, to become more intentional gardeners, to notice what's growing, decide what we want to nurture, and create a space that reflects who we are today rather than who we were told we had to be. So today, I want to leave you with one simple question. What belief about sex are you still watering that no longer deserves space in your garden? Once you figure that out, you are well on your way to creating that garden that works for you. Sex Here and Now is written and recorded by me, Matt Lockman. For more resources, education, or support, you can find me on all social platforms at Cleveland Sex Therapy. Thanks for being here, and as always, stay curious.